Hello and good afternoon, everyone. We are excited to be here with you for our live session to discuss the Rangel Fellowship Program. We're working through one or two quick technical issues, and then we'll be getting started in just a moment. All right, so we will, it looks like our fellow Vanessa is joining us. So we will give her just a moment to set up. Hi, Vanessa. Hopefully she can hear us. Okay, excellent. So we will go ahead and get started. My name is Lily Lopez McGee, and I am the Deputy Director for the Rangel International Affairs Program. And we are here to discuss the Rangel Graduate Fellowship Program. The program, I'm sorry, give us just one more second. All right, we're going to try with the microphone. I hope you all are able to hear us. If you're not able to hear us, if you could just chat into the chat box if you're having trouble with the sound, we'll go ahead and work through that. So I am, again, Lily Lopez McGee, here to talk to you about the Rangel Fellowship Program. So a little bit about the Rangel International Affairs Program. The program is a State Department award that is administered by Howard University, and it started in 2002 as a way to promote excellence and diversity in the Foreign Service. The program is made up of essentially two components. One is the Rangel International Affairs Graduate Fellowship Program that we're here to discuss. And the second component is the Rangel International Affairs Summer Enrichment Program, which is a 6 weeks intensive residential program held at Howard University. And it looks like Vanessa was able to join us. Hi, Vanessa. Hopefully we'll test out your sound in just a second. Can you hear me, Vanessa? Excellent.
Coming in and out, so having just still some like.
Okay, great. And it looks like our internet is moving just a little bit slowly. Sorry about that. All right. So Vanessa is a fellow from the 2009 Rangel Fellowship, and she is here to join with us. She'll talk a little bit in a little while to give us some perspective from the fellow's experience and talk a little bit about what her experience has been, both with the fellowship program as well as in the Foreign Service. She is currently serving in the U.S. Department of State Foreign Service, and we're happy to have her online. So thanks, Vanessa, for joining us. Okay, so a little bit about the Graduate Fellowship Program. So the Graduate Fellowship Program prepares individuals for careers in the Foreign Service of the U.S. Department of State. It is really for those who are interested in joining the Foreign Service, those who want to become diplomats and work on international issues that range from human rights to international trade to helping U.S. citizens work overseas. If that sounds like you, this is definitely the program for you. The program is a multi-component fellowship program that starts with an award of up to $95,000 towards a 2-year professional degree that helps with tuition, fees, living expenses, and summer internship stipends. It starts with a 1-week orientation to the program and to the Foreign Service, and is followed by starting graduate school, and then goes into a 10-week internship on Capitol Hill, and then goes into your graduate program, and then also provides a 10-week overseas internship at a U.S. embassy or consulate in the second summer. During the course of the program, fellows are also paired with a mentor. They are in touch with a Foreign Service officer who is there to help support them during the process of being a fellow. And ultimately, the program culminates in employment with the Department of State's Foreign Service for those who successfully complete the program and meet the Foreign Service entry requirements. And we'll talk a little bit more about what those items mean in terms of meeting the Foreign Service entry requirements. To start, though, we're going to go in a little bit of a chronological order. So we'll talk about eligibility and the application, and then move into the specific components of the fellowship program. So in order to be eligible for the fellowship, you must have U.S. citizenship at the time of the application deadline, have a 3.2 GPA from your undergraduate institution. You do have to have your degree conferred, your undergraduate degree conferred by the time that orientation starts in May. And then you are also required to be preparing to enter graduate school in the fall of 2018, working towards a 2-year master's degree program at a US-based institution. At the time of application, you're not required to have already submitted your application to graduate schools. You will just be in the process of applying to graduate school. All right, so a little bit about the selection process. This year, we will be selecting 30 fellows for the 2018 cohort. We'll be looking at a whole host of different components of your background to determine who these 30 fellows will be. We'll look at academic background. We'll look at your personal statement. We'll look at financial need of those who apply. We'll also look at your 2 letters of recommendation, your community service and leadership activities, and essentially who you are as a whole person. We'll talk a little bit about what the application entails and how to really communicate to the selection committee what it is that we're hoping to see in your application. Schedule-wise, the application deadline is available now. You can go to our website, rangelprogram.org/apply, to access the online application. The deadline for submission of all application materials is September 21st. Our application is all online, so we will ask that you complete every component of submit all of the materials via our online portal. If you're having trouble with the online portal, we will be doing a technical assistance webinar next week where we'll actually walk through the different areas of the application so you can see exactly how to navigate that. On October 26th, we will notify 60 finalists to invite them to do an in-person interview in Washington, D.C. We will fly individuals out from any point in the United States to Washington, D.C. to participate in the interview and cover the one-night stay for those who are coming from out of town. On November 15th and 16th, we'll be conducting the in-person interviews here in Washington, D.C. And then by the 17th, you will know whether or not you have been offered the Rangel Fellowship Program. I think this is great. You know before Thanksgiving whether or not you've been accepted to the program. And what we found is that this timeline has actually been really helpful for applicants as they've prepared their graduate school applications. It gives you an opportunity to go into graduate school applications knowing that you have been awarded the fellowship program. So let's get into the basics about the program. So the Rangel Fellowship Award, as I mentioned earlier, includes up to $95,000 over the course of 2 years. This is broken up into a couple of different areas. Fellows are awarded $21,500 per year that goes directly towards tuition and mandatory fees. We pay this amount of up to the $21,500 directly to the institutions. There is also a second component of funding that goes to the stipend for fellows that is paid directly to the fellow that provides assistance for living expenses and other expenses throughout the year. And then you also receive a $10,000, up to $10,000 for your 2 internship opportunities. It shakes out to be about $7,000 for stipend, and then housing and transportation equal the rest of the $10,000. I am actually going to pause here for a moment to welcome our program director, Patricia Scroggs. She is joining us here as well. You want to say hi to the group?
Hi, group.
And hopefully the sound is still coming through strongly.
Okay.
All right. So next, we'll talk a little bit about the obligation. So with the generous benefits that you receive as a graduate fellow, there are also a series of obligations that we ask that you're required to complete. This includes medical security and suitability clearances, as well as maintaining a 3.2 GPA over the course of the 2 years that you are in your graduate program. And then meeting all of the entry requirements for entering the Foreign Service. This includes taking the Foreign Service exams and the Foreign Service oral assessment and passing those. And then following your graduate degree, there is a 5-year service obligation where you are required to serve in the Foreign Service for 5 years following your graduate school degree program. Those 5 years end up being about 2 to 3 tours, depending on where it is that you are ending up in your placements. So chronologically speaking, we'll go forward with what the fellowship looks like once you are admitted to the program. So the beginning of the program will start with a 1-week intensive orientation in mid-May, where we will fly all of the fellows out to Howard University and take them through essentially prepping to become onboarding you as fellows and eventually Foreign Service officers. So you will meet with lots of people. You will take your medical exams and start your security and suitability clearance processes. You will go through a whole host of professional development activities. You'll do a number of visits to the Department of State, and you will have meetings with Foreign Service officers at multiple points during this orientation. We'll also provide an overview of what you can expect for your congressional internship, which will follow immediately after the orientation. The professional development activities don't stop during the orientation. You'll also participate in a whole number of activities, technical writing, meeting with other Foreign Service officers to talk about their experiences in the service, and we're really using this as an opportunity to set you up for success for graduate school. And, of course, time in the Foreign Service. After the week-long orientation, you will go into your 10-week congressional internship. This takes place over the next 10 weeks of the summer. Our fellows are placed everywhere. They receive internship placements on the Senate side, on the House side, with Democrats and Republicans, with personal staff, and with committees. We work really hard to try to place our fellows in placements where they will get a range of really meaningful experiences, where they'll be able to take on projects to see how see the role that Congress plays in creating and implementing foreign policy that ultimately the State Department is responsible for implementing overseas. And And yeah, that's a little bit about the congressional internship. With all 30 fellows on the Hill, there are often multiple opportunities outside of just the internship to get involved. Since there will be 30 of you on the Hill, it's a really good opportunity to share activities, hearings, really interesting hearings that are happening on the Hill, as well as other activities, foreign embassy events, social events, other opportunities to connect with young people in the city during the summer. If one fellow knows, all of them will know, and they are able to coordinate those types of activities and events. And again, the purpose of the congressional internship is to provide fellows with a really clear idea and understanding of how Congress influences the work that they will be doing ultimately as Foreign Service officers. And it's a really great opportunity for, we find that fellows go in and take that information with them during their experience as Foreign Service officers. Do you want to take over the graduate school component of it?
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's Patricia Scroggs. I'm sorry to be late, but of course, as always, Lily did a terrific job. So once you finish the congressional internship, it's time to go to graduate school. You can go to any good graduate program. It has to be a 2-year program. It has to be at a U.S. university, and it has to be in an area of relevance to the Foreign Service. So that means it cannot be a law degree. That's a 3-year degree. It can't be a joint program if it's a 3-year degree, 2-year program. So most common things like international relations, public policy, public administration, business administration, economics, maybe languages. So there's a variety of things. Again, only U.S. institutions. However, if it's something that a U.S. institution that has an overseas program, that might be a possibility. While you're in graduate school, you're required to keep a GPA of 3.2. Also, some graduate programs provide additional funding for fellows. If you want to know, again, they're up on our website, but if you want to know their exact offers, just send us an email and we're glad to share the list with you. But there's some wonderful opportunities. At first, when we say we give you $21,500, that sounds really good until you realize how expensive some of these graduate programs are. So it's a real benefit that for Rangel Fellows, they give additional funding. Okay, so between your first and second year of graduate school, you're going to go to an overseas internship. And this is a wonderful opportunity to really learn about the Foreign Service, because it's not just a job, it really is a lifestyle. So you get to tell us where you want to go. Usually it's an embassy, but sometimes it's a consulate. And we've had people in very diverse places, from Moscow to Canberra, Australia this year, Lima, Peru, to Doha. So very, very different experiences. Another benefit of the Rangel program is that you have about 1.5 years to pick your career track, and the overseas internship really lets you actually see what it's like to be either an economic officer or a political officer or a public diplomacy officer. And then I think makes your decision a little bit easier. You then go back, you finish your second year of graduate school. Let's say you graduate in May. Chances are you're going into the Foreign Service in the summer. This year we had people that went in July and September. So depending on their timing. So July and September. Once you're in the Foreign Service, you are like everyone else. There's no difference on how you came in. This is just a different way to join the Foreign Service, and you embark on a uniquely rewarding career. So just very briefly, I actually did spend 20 years in the Foreign Service, which I absolutely loved. There's a million things that I loved about the Foreign Service, and I'd be glad to talk about them. But I think the two things that always hit me are, one, the fact that as a career, change is such an important part of it. So we're always learning. So every 2 years, our jobs change, the issues we're working on, the people we're working with. Sometimes it's the countries that we're in. And so we're always learning. So training is very important to us. But we also have to be able to learn on the job, because there's a lot of things you can't train for. So if you're one of those people that almost can't decide what you want to do with your life because you're interested in so many different things, Foreign Service is a great career, because we're always changing, and it keeps it intellectually very interesting, which I think is a real benefit. The next thing that I think is really important is the fact that what we do matters. So whether we're helping an American citizen who's in trouble, working on human rights issues or trafficking in persons, trying to promote prosperity, both for American business people, but also local people. These are all things that I think we're very proud of. And so that also makes the work, I think, even better. Let's see. So that's really it. I can talk a little bit more about tips for preparing a competitive application, but we have Vanessa here, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Maybe we can turn over then now to Vanessa. Hello. So Vanessa is a 2009 Rangel Fellow, a 2008 Rangel Scholar, and so we wanted her to tell you a little bit about her experience. Vanessa?
Yeah, hey Vanessa, we could hear you just a moment ago when you were talking. Let's try this. Hey Vanessa, it looks like you might be muted. I'm going to try one thing before.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello? That's Vanessa. Hey. Can everyone hear me? Oh, okay, great.
School in San Antonio, Texas. And I can say that, and I often talk about this, the Rangel Fellowship was the best thing that ever happened to me and something that was really unexpected. So for anyone who's feeling really nervous, I encourage you to apply because I felt exactly the same way and I applied and lo and behold, here I am. So I went to Syracuse University, which offers a double master's degree in international relations and public administration. So you get two for the price of one. So I was really attracted to that discount and to the program. And I really recommend it, especially the public administration degree, which you can get in 1 year. I did that. My congressional internship was first I did the in Congressman Serrano's office. And a lot of my work there was constituent inquiries and tracking and responding to those. But I did a second internship as well, and this just has to do with the fact that I couldn't complete my first internship just because Syracuse University's program starts in the summer. So I did a month, and then I had to finish up or do another complete internship in the fall. And for the fall in 2010, I did my internship in the Foreign Affairs Subcommittee for for East Asia, the Pacific, and the global environment. And so the chairman at the time was Congressman Felio Mavenga, who's from American Samoa. So I was working most especially in that team. And my overseas internship was in Sao Paulo, the consulate there. And I rotated between the public affairs office and the Pol-Econ team as well, just because I wanted to get exposure to what all the different offices did and understand their work better. I joined the Foreign Service in 2011, and my first post was in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, so really hit the jackpot there. One thing that Patricia mentioned, and it'll be a theme that I hit on, was what I love about the Foreign Service is not just public service and international relations, but this constant change, this constant opportunity to learn. And so I got the chance to learn Portuguese full time. That was what I did day in and day out. It was 5 of us in a small classroom learning Portuguese, and these were my friends from orientation. And so, it was honestly a lot of fun and really interesting and challenging all at the same time. So I did Portuguese training for 4 months, then went to Rio de Janeiro to do a consular tour. So I was doing mainly non-immigrant visas, where the volumes were very high, so that was a challenge as well for language, and I think for efficiency is to interview that many people, in a short amount of time. My second tour was the Pol-Econ officer in Melbourne, Australia. And what was challenging there is that, I was the only political and economic officer, so I was doing a lot of reporting for our consular district, as well as what was happening in Australia, the region, major priorities where, it was Australia is obviously a coalition partner, so we were collaborating on that. And again, every day I was working on an issue that was completely new, whether it was cybersecurity, countering violent extremism, to learning about the mining sector in Australia, oil and gas, talking to youth, learning about what different NGOs are doing as far as their humanitarian efforts, and working with asylum seekers. So this job really does keep you on your toes. I'm what econ cone, so my specialty within the Foreign Service is economics, and my third tour, which I am currently doing, it's the Economic Studies program. So the department actually paid for me to spend 6 months full-time studying economics at the Foreign Service Institute. And then it pairs with a detail that you can use outside of the State Department. So some of my colleagues they're doing GE, other past alumni have done Amazon. I'm doing mine at the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, OPIC, which is a development finance institution, which has been a really great opportunity for me to learn more about financial inclusion, international finance, and it's been 4 to 6 months. And my onward assignment, which I begin in just a few weeks actually, will be as a desk officer in DC. So I'm covering for India the environment, science, technology, health, and then I think also space and IT. So I'll get to learn a lot about various different issues. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And if anyone has any follow-up questions on that, and any part of my experience, I'm happy to get connected. So feel free to reach out. That's it for me.
Thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate it. So Vanessa shows what is the best about the Rangel Fellowship, which is the Rangel Fellows themselves. And I would say they're special individually. I mean, Vanessa is fabulous, but I think they're even more special as a group. One of the things that I think defines our program is that we tend to have cohorts that are very close because they spend the first summer together. In addition, we do a lot of functions between cohorts, and so I think it's a group where you'll find a lot of support throughout your career. So we're very proud of our fellows, and we know that they're going to do wonderful things in the Foreign Service. I'll go back quickly and finish the competitive application. The next thing I was going to talk about was getting strong letters of recommendation. You get two, one from a community leader and one from an academic. The community leader is someone that can help us see you as an emerging professional. So it could be your boss at work, or it could be a supervisor at an internship you did, or maybe it's a faculty advisor to a student organization. But they can talk about things like your I don't know, interpersonal skills and your commitment to service and your work ethic, things that maybe a professor wouldn't see. Then you get one from a professor. Now, you only get two, so you want them to be very good. Pick people who know you and like you. We give no extra points for big names, so sometimes people will think they have to go to the chairman of the department or they have to get something for the member of Congress. Go to the person who knows you the best, because they're going to write you the best recommendation. Okay? Give them information. A good letter of recommendation actually writes to this opportunity that says not only, you know, he's a fine young man who'll do well no matter what he does, but says this person will be an excellent Foreign Service officer because, and really talks about the Rangel program in the Foreign Service. The next thing is to demonstrate the need for financial assistance. We look both at your socioeconomic background as well as your needs for graduate school. To do this, you're going to write a 400-word essay to tell us, you know, kind of bring forward, you know, if you were talking to the panel, what do you want them to know about your need for financial assistance? We will also ask you to put in the FAFSA, the student aid report that comes from that. Please remember it takes a couple days to generate, so please do it in advance. If you got any financial assistance during graduate school, we ask for documentation just so we can see what type of financial aid you got. There's a few questions in the application about your financial need too. Please fill them all out. One of the questions we sometimes get is there's one in there that asks about your family. And people will say, well, I'm independent. It doesn't really matter what my family does. That said, we do ask the question. It's one fact. It certainly isn't going to be the most important fact with your financial need. If you tell us you're independent, we do believe it. However, we do want to know a little bit more about your background. So please, again, help us understand your financial need. The next thing we give points for is relevant extracurricular, community, or volunteer experiences. And if you highlight, and please, if possible, highlight leadership roles. So with a leadership role, that doesn't only have to be, well, I was president of, I don't know, Amnesty International at my university. But it could be I coordinated our major event for the year, or maybe I spearheaded the financial recruiting or something. So give us some idea about your level of participation and also what you added to the organization, because there's a big difference between I came 1 week to Habitat for Humanity and drove in a couple of nails, or for a year I was in charge of meals for Habitat for Humanity. That's a very different level of participation. So help us to understand. Also, please list any relevant college, university, or professional honors and awards. And that could be, some special award you got, or maybe you got the Critical Language Scholarship, or maybe you got a Boren, or the Rangel Summer Enrichment Program. Please list them so that the panel knows. Finally, proofread all aspects of your application carefully and submit all your application materials on time. There's nothing more frustrating when you read an application than to see someone that spent so much time working on it, but they misspelled their name and that got put all over. Or all of it looks nice, but one part looks sloppy, or, one part has, problems with grammar. So this is a competitive application and you want your entire package to look really good. There's no problem with showing it to somebody else. A lot of schools have fellowship advisors, or maybe you have a mentor or a professor. It's perfectly fine to show it to them. But in the end, it's your application and you make the choices in terms of what you want to submit. Okay, so again, application deadline, September 21st, 2017. That's coming up. So please get started on it. With that, we'll take questions. You could ask me a question. Vanessa's still here. She'll answer questions. I'm sure Lily's able to answer questions. So if there's something that you'd like to know, please just type it in, correct? Mm-hmm.
We can ask maybe one of the common questions that we get is what are some of the things that they look for during the clearance process?
Oh, that's a great question. So all Rangel Fellows have to be able to get both security, suitability, and then medical clearances. For medical, again, probably the best way to think about that is knowing your own condition and thinking about how comfortable you are living overseas in a place that doesn't have immediate access to first-rate health care. So that could be anything, I'm trying to think, and that has changed over the years. So there are Foreign Service officers who have epilepsy, who are HIV positive. So there are a variety of different conditions, but it has to be something that's under control. You'll get a medical exam that will help you figure that out. And we'll do that during orientation. For suitability and security, remember that not only are we trusting you with the secrets of the United States, but you also represent us overseas. And so if you have an extra drink one night when you're overseas, and a pedestrian steps out in front of you, it's not your fault. However, you hit them, you hurt them. The next day, you're front page news, and it's, American official endangers local population. You really represent an entire country. And so because of that, we have very high standards for people's conduct, both on and off duty. The most common things for young people that can affect your security clearance are things like use of illegal drugs. It's not that you could never have used them, but they'll look at things like, when did you last use them? What kind of drugs did you use? With what frequency? While again, there's no one answer. Certainly, a year to 18 months of not doing anything would be, I think, a minimum. If this is not something you meet right now, maybe you stop You take another year and you apply next year because they are very serious about that. Another thing can be any type of academic dishonesty because, again, we count on people to have integrity. Financial irresponsibility. That's different than having debt. A lot of people have debt. Financial irresponsibility would be something that is a pattern of not paying debts. So it's not, wow, I forgot to pay my cell phone once. But if you have any questions, you can always ask us. We do have another question here, which is, if I'm working on a second master's, would I still be eligible? Our eligibility requirement with regard to schools is that you have to be planning to start a 2-year master's degree in fall 2018. That means you cannot be in the middle of a master's. So if that question is, I'd be halfway through a master's, can I get the fellowship to finish the master's? The answer would be no. If the question is, I already have 1 master's, but I would like to start a second master's, yes, you can do that. The one thing we will look for, though, is to see that it's a different type of master's degree. So if you just finished a master's in international studies and now you want us to pay for a master's in international relations, that might be too close. Next question. What happens if you have already been accepted to a graduate program and have not started that program yet? Well, that's terrific. Again, we're looking for you to start in fall 2018. So if you're going to apply for the Rangel Fellowship, you probably want to defer the start of graduate school to meet 2018. If you have been accepted already, please upload that along with your transcripts because the panel is always interested in seeing that you've already been accepted. It's not a requirement. In fact, for most of you, you may not have even started applying yet. All you need to do is write down where you plan to be, where you plan to apply. However, if you have been accepted, please do include that too.
Another common question that we get is whether or not you can do overseas work while you're in graduate school. Can you talk a little bit about studying abroad or?
Sure. Again, I told you it has to be a 2-year degree in graduate, a 2-year degree at a U.S. institution. Now, if there's a U.S. institution that takes credit from overseas, that would be possible. So let's say you decided to go to Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies. That has an overseas program both in Bologna, Italy, as well as in China. In that case, those credits are going to come back and count towards the 2-year program from Johns Hopkins, which is a U.S. program. In addition, there's some programs that will do, let's say, a semester at Sciences Po in France. But those credits come back and are accepted by the U.S. university, so you come out with a 2-year degree from the U.S. university. If you told me I just want to go to the London School of Economics, that is not a U.S. university, so we would not accept that. But if you have specific questions about programs, you can always talk to us about it. Okay, if I attended community college but transferred and graduated from a university, should I include all transcripts from both schools or just the one I graduated from? Please include transcripts from all schools that you attended. Okay, the one reason you wouldn't have to would be is if those credits transferred to your current one and it included grades. So it's not enough just to have the credits transferred, you know, pass, fail. We need to see the grades to compute your GPA. So generally the only way to do that is to show us more than one transcripts if you apply to more than one schools. And again, these are just student copies, so please upload them. How about if I got a Fulbright? Mm-hmm. A question we sometimes get asked. I'm applying for this, but I'm also applying for a Fulbright. Again, excellent question, Patricia. Thank you. The answer to this one is, oh, actually, you know who's a good one to answer this one is probably Vanessa, because this actually was relevant to her. But again, Fulbright's the one thing we will defer for. So we will work with you to be able to allow you to do the Fulbright. So Vanessa, do you have any experience with the Fulbright and your graduate school?
I will attest that this is true, and I was very grateful actually that the Rangel Fellowship did work with me on that. I had applied to do an ETA English teaching assistantship, type of Fulbright program in Malaysia. And so I got the Rangel Fellowship and the Fulbright, and so what I did is that I started Syracuse University in the summer and the fall, and then for the spring and summer seasons or semesters, I went and did my Fulbright abroad, which was a really great experience. Anyone who wants to talk about teaching English through a Fulbright abroad, happy to chat about that. But it was also another experience where it was a lot of fun and really interesting. The kids, I don't think I'll ever be treated with so much fanfare ever again in my life. It really was like being a celebrity in this small rural town in Malaysia. Kids would literally ask for my autograph. But anyway, that's not why I did it. I didn't do it for the fame. But it was extremely satisfying, and would highly recommend that. And Rangel Fellowship does work with you on it.
Great, thank you. And again, it can be different. In your case, you actually started graduate school and then left and came back. In some cases, they'll do the Fulbright first and then come back into the program. So we work with you on those types of issues. But if it's something like Peace Corps or another program, you should really be applying when you plan to start attending, because we won't defer for those.
Another common question that we get is whether or not you're required to have a language at the time that you're applying to the program. Is that?
That is often a question. And the answer is no. You are not. You're not even required to have one for the Foreign Service because we train. Certainly, language may be part of your narrative in your personal statement, and it can certainly show that you've had long-term interest in international affairs. However, there is no requirement that you have a language coming into the Rangel program. Okay, well, if that's all the questions there are, I think we'll probably end it here, and thank you for your time. Please know that you can always contact us. If it's something, you know, technical, or just feel free to reach out to us. We're always glad to answer questions, not only about the application itself, but about the Foreign Service. I also will tell you that we have incredibly generous Rangel Fellows like Vanessa. So there are times that if you say, wow, I'm really interested, I would love to talk to a Rangel Fellow that shares some of my interests. We can often pair you with a Rangel Fellow so that you can ask them questions. So with that, I'm going to thank you all for participating. I'm going to thank Vanessa for taking the time to do this, and Lily for setting this up and doing such an excellent presentation up front. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
And thank you.